One of my craziest stories from consulting was when I was working on a real estate expansion project for a $500 million retail company. Basically, the company just wanted to know where to expand their stores, how much they should pay for it, and their long-term real estate strategy. And in consulting, you will hear the word strategy thrown away all the time. It's basically a consultant's favorite buzzword. Basically, my job in the project was to create a model that can take a lot of inputs about the market, how much we're paying for the project, and other types of information. And then it runs through the model to basically say whether or not this is a good deal or a bad deal. And now, while this sounds super cool and this is probably the fun part, this was only 20% of the project. The crazy part was the other 80%. In the middle of the project, the client essentially wanted to consider international expansion, not just like United States expansion. So they started sending me lease documents and other real estate documents in German, Spanish, Arabic, Hindi, Mandarin, all the different types of languages. And these documents were basically like scanned PDF documents that were just like not easily digestible, and I couldn't just like take and copy paste it and put it into Google Translate. So I literally had to read these documents and try to like decipher what some of the words might mean and try to figure out what the purchase price is, what the interest rates are just from those documents. Anyways, I ended up staying up to 3 a.m. almost most of the nights. I ended up like taking 2 to 3 weeks to try to figure this piece out, going through hundreds and hundreds of pages. But anyways, the project was super successful at the end, and I did not realize that consultants were basically glorified readers in different languages. So if you want to be a good consultant, all you need to do is just know how to read lease documents in multiple languages. I'm just kidding. But seriously though, I think consulting is one of the best industries you can work in after college. I had a great time working in consulting and I learned a ton. So in this video, you're probably here because you want to know how you break into consulting. So I want to help you step by step understand the process of making it to consulting. But also, since I left the industry, I want to share with you an honest and transparent view for why I quit my job and why I'm not considering or choosing to go back to consulting. Welcome to Zia Chairs. If you're new to this channel, I'm a Harvard Business School admit and ex-consultant. In this channel, we talk about all things career, finance, and business. Breaking into consulting essentially has 3 parts. The first one is getting the interview. The second is ace the case. And then the third is succeeding in the behavioral or fit interview. So let's talk about each of these parts. Starting off with getting the interview. This is honestly the hardest part. Some people say that you have less than a 1% chance of going from the application stage to actually getting a first round interview. So just by getting the interview, you're already miles ahead of most people. And unfortunately, most people get disqualified in the stage. So it is extremely crucial and extremely important to try to maximize your chances of getting the interview. And having a good resume and a great GPA, unfortunately, will not cut it. There are way more people with super good GPAs and like incredible resumes than there are like spots in consulting in general. But if you do want to stand out, there is one secret sauce, one secret technique that will absolutely help you get the interview, and that is getting a referral. Especially if you come from a non-target school, or even if you do come from a non-target school, if you want to get a step ahead of everybody else, then getting a referral is probably the best way to increase your chances of landing that interview. And the best way to get a referral is to try to build a relationship with a consultant who already works at the firm. Honestly, LinkedIn is probably your best friend, or try to go to networking events, but ultimately your goal is to try to find 1 to 2 people who are willing to back you and submit a referral through the official company's website. That will increase your chances dramatically. I remember even talking to one of the HR talent acquisition people at the top consulting firms, McKinsey, BCG, and Bain, and almost all of them say that they start with the referral pile and then they'll go ahead and start looking at the other piles. Here's a quick tip on trying to get a referral. Try to pick somebody who already went to your school or has something in common with your own background. Let's say they're from the same city, same country, you guys played the same sport or were a part of the same club. That will increase your chances of them responding and wanting to give you that referral. If you want to see my exact script that I send to people for the referral, please feel free to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to send it to you for free. Now on to step number 2, and that is acing the case. So once you land the first round interview, right now you're going to be invited to the first round interview, which typically has a case interview. Depending on the company you're interviewing for, you might have 1 interview, 2 interviews, and some places you even have 3 case interviews. And while the case interview can be pretty much daunting, I think generally they are actually testing for 3 things in that interview. First is structure. Second is your ability to do math quickly. And then third is your general case leadership. When it comes to structure, here you want to pick a framework depending on the case that you are given. So let's say you are given a profitability case, then you may want to use the profitability framework shown here. Or if you're given a market entry case, then you may want to use a different framework, which is the market entry framework shown here. Ultimately, what matters is that you show structure throughout the entire approach, and using frameworks is one of the best ways to do that. If you want more detail around frameworks, I actually created a detailed video on how to ace the case interview and how you can prepare for it in less than a week. Please go ahead and check it in my channel, and I will leave a link in the description as well. The second part to acing the case is showing your ability to do math quickly. Most of the time, you're not going to be given a calculator, so you need to be able to do mental math super quick. And the math is not necessarily anything too complex, but basically they just want to know that you have the ability to multiply numbers quickly, or, understand what 60% of 100 million is. So it's really just like general quick maths. And because you're not given a calculator, the last thing that you want is to struggle with the numbers and struggle with the math. Because you have limited time, you just want to be able to run through the math quickly and really spend the majority of the time on the actual content, strategy, framework, and thinking of the case. Honestly, my best tip here is to just try to find any of the online drills. There are a lot of quick techniques on how you can improve your math or get faster at mental math. Again, you don't have to be perfect, but it's good to know what is a billion divided by a million or 80% of a certain number. So just try to practice those. Okay, the last one, which is showing leadership, and this is one that most of the time gets overlooked, and I honestly have been seeing more recently that a lot of the top consulting firms reject people because of it, is the case leadership. Oftentimes, as a consultant, your main job is to show the client that you know what you're talking about and you're able to walk them through the logic, as well as, decide what the next steps are going to be and what the next parts of the project should entail. This is something that you want to demonstrate in the case. So instead of just answering the question, my advice is to try to, go a little bit above and beyond. Try to show them that you're thinking about risks. Try to, suggest the next steps instead of telling the interviewer, where do we go from here? I think your ability to lead throughout the case will give you a lot of positive points and will help you stand out. Okay, so now let's say that you succeed in the case interview. You're still going to have to show that you're a good fit. Showing you're a good fit also has 3 parts to it. The first is understanding why consulting. The second is explaining why the specific firm you're applying to. And then the third one is spelling out your long-term career goals. Usually this part of the interview is 5 to 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes at the most, but it is pretty critical at the end of the day. If you don't have a good response for why consulting, or you just say the reason why I'm doing consulting is because of the long-term exit opportunities, or because, it's a great paying job, or because your company's prestigious, usually you're not going to end up with a good outcome. So try to find a unique answer to why consulting. The angle that I like to take is actually answering the third question first, your long-term career goals. So start by spelling out your long-term career goals and then mention how consulting and the specific firm you're applying to fit very well into that picture. Just to give you a quick example, in my case, my long-term goal is to become an entrepreneur in the education technology space. So one of the things I can mention is in consulting, I can learn a lot of the strategic toolkit that will help me in entrepreneurship. The firm I'm interested in, let's say it's BCG, has a lot of cases in the education sector or the public sector. So those are experiences that are relevant that I can use in my long-term entrepreneurship goal. So those are just a couple examples that you could use, or that I would say, to stand out. So let me give you a quick summary of exactly what you need to do step by step. So step number 1, make sure you get the interview. The best way to do that is to get a referral. Step number 2, make sure you ace the case. Acing the case means that you are structured, you can do math quickly, and then you show case leadership all throughout. And then step number 3, showing you're a fit, and that means that you have a solid answer for why consulting, why the specific firm, and then your long-term career goals. Okay, so now let's get to the truth about consulting. I want to make sure that I leave an honest and very transparent view of my experiences in consulting, but more specifically, why I left. First of all, there is no doubt that consulting is probably one of the best industries that you can pursue once you graduate. The pay is super good, you learn a ton, you get to live a great lifestyle between traveling, meeting amazing people, going to cool events. So this is by no means me dissing on consulting or discouraging people from going into consulting. But in the same time, I also want to tell people that consulting is not all roses and fluffy rabbits and teddy bears. And I don't know if fluffy rabbits or teddy bears even make sense, but oh well, you get the point. But basically, one of the first and biggest reasons why I left consulting was that I wanted to focus on a specific sector, which was the education technology sector. I know longer term that I definitely want to be within this industry. Working in consulting, I know that in some instances I have to work on mining cases or retail cases or maybe technology and data cases. So it's not always going to be exactly the thing that I want to do. And because I was pretty firm and clear that I wanted to do education technology longer term, it just no longer made sense for me to work on industries that did not pertain to that whatsoever. When you're young and junior in consulting, you don't really have a lot of say on the projects that you get placed on. So even though a lot of people may have known that I wanted to be within the education technology sector, if the only cases that the company is able to sell is a 6-month implementation of a tech software, then that's what I'm going to be working on for the next 6 months. And the second reason, which is also tied to the first, and I think this is one of the more important ones as well, is that I did not have the ability to work on operational or implementation long-term projects. Usually in consulting, you're working on 3 weeks to maybe 6 to 8 weeks max type projects. So you're not really seeing kind of the full end-to-end view of the work that you're doing. And also, to build a lot of the skill set that you need or want to do in entrepreneurship, you need to be able to kind of understand how to strategize and implement the project. Also related to implementation projects, usually you learn a lot of project management skills, which are important for you as an entrepreneur. Those are things that you can only get through an implementation project. So I didn't necessarily feel that I was improving my project management skills in general. I was getting really good at modeling, getting really good at PowerPoint, but managing a large scale project end to end was not something that I learned in consulting. The third part, which is a common one that almost everybody mentions, is the work hours and the flexibility. One of the things that I did not mention to you in the story from earlier was that in the middle of that real estate case, I actually ended up getting super sick, had a virus, and had a bit of a skin infection. And I still had to stay up to 3 a.m. working on those, leases in Mandarin and Hindi and Arabic. And instead, I would have loved if I could just take a couple days off, but I didn't have the luxury or the opportunity to do so because we had an important client deliverable and we had promised to deliver it by end of week. So regardless of my kind of state or situation, I still had to work the long hours and I still had to deliver the project. And if you're curious what I'm doing right now, I left consulting to become a director of strategy and operations at a $500 million education technology company. If you are more interested, I'm happy to talk more about my current job and what I do. But luckily, this new job does cover a lot of the things that consulting did not have. I am working on a lot more operations implementation projects. I'm fully embedded in the education technology sector, and my hours are great, and there's a lot of flexibility. So I'm super happy. Anyways, as always, I hope that this video delivered value. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you subscribe and also leave me a comment. I would love to connect with you. Lastly, I just want to say good luck to everyone trying to break into consulting. I will catch you in the next video.